Welcome back to Reality Bites, where we are continuing on with our Reality Bites series, the 7 Hermetic Principles of Reality. So if you have been following along, so far we have covered off the first 5 principles of Hermeticism as told in the Kybalion by Hermes Trismegistus. And so we are up to number 6, which is the principle of cause and effect. But before we dive into that, we are nearly wrapping up this series. And it's been a fascinating journey so far, because what I've discovered, as I have also been saying in these Reality Bite podcasts, is that you'll be noticing, if you're contemplating on these principles, where they're showing up in your life and how you can apply them and better utilize them, as I've been reinforcing and repeating how to best utilize them for your own reality management. Now, I was off on my morning walk this morning through the park, and I was contemplating the principle of rhythm, which was the last episode that we did in this series, how everything flows in and out, how there's the up and down, that all things rise and fall, like the seasons and like the tides, of course, and even like your breath. And it got me thinking about also the old Buddha's saying that all life is suffering. And the suffering is obviously inherent in the human condition. You're going to encounter suffering no matter what you do in life. It's part of that dualistic nature, the polarity, the spectrum of up and down, the extremes. So there's no joy without suffering. There's no pain without joy, or there's no good without bad. There's got to be that opposition. So it got me thinking a little bit about how to manage suffering, and that's another Reality Bites podcast, which I think I'll come back to and maybe investigate again, because when you can come from this perspective that, okay, I'm not going to resist suffering, I'm not going to resist the pain, I'm not going to resist those things that are beyond my control, then it gives you a better ability to, instead of react, to take responsibility for those actions and those things that you can change or alchemize and transmute that are happening in your life. Say, well, what control do I have? How can I respond to this situation? What can I do in my mental landscape, my thoughts, my conditioning, and all those things that if I alchemize that, then I can change my reality. Then I can change my perspective on things and start through there. And you might have a belief system that you're stuck, for example, and that causes you suffering and pain. And if you reinforce that, then your reality is going to reflect that back. Hey, I'm stuck. And then you'll find all these reasons why you're stuck. You're still in the same job. You're still in the same situation. You're repeating all these patterns, whatever it is that's occurring in your life. But if you just shift the perspective to, I am getting through this, and it's part of the process, and everything rises and falls, which is the principle of rhythm, everything changes, then maybe I can change the effect. Maybe I can then come from a better, more resourceful place and go, well, I'm getting through this and I'm learning as I'm going. And it just changes the whole energy around it. And then notice the rhythm, how nothing stays the same. So in essence, everything is always in flux, always shifting. And so when you just recognize that, then you can recognize those things in your own life where, hang on a minute, I'm actually not stuck. There is always movement. It's always flowing. So I thought I'd just share that. It was just sort of came to mind on my morning walk. So let's get into principle number 6, which is the principle of cause and effect, which states every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. So this principle embodies the fact there is a cause for every effect. and an effect for every cause, meaning that nothing merely happens for no reason, and that there is no such thing as chance. So think about it. For every action, there is a reaction. This is an important one. This is a really important one from many different levels. And as told in the Kybalion, it talks about there are many planes of causation. So on different levels of your reality, or different dimensions, if you like. So I want to explore into that a little bit more. But the old saying, everything happens for a reason, or things are happening for you, right, is a way of interpreting this cause and effect. You do something, you imprint something into the field, then something's got to come back, whether that's good or bad. And this also implies, if there is an effect and you are the causer of the effect, and you also are the field and the knower of the field, this also implies you have some control over your life. What I was talking about before, the things that you can control, that you can cause or initiate the effect. So if I train my body, if I get into a fitness regime of strength conditioning, that's going to cause some effect to my muscles and my joints and my cardiovascular system. Depends on what sort of exercise you're doing. But that's cause and effect in motion. But from a greater, higher perspective and the grand scheme of your life, this also relates to karma and the law of action. So most people have heard about karma, and a lot of people focus on the negative aspect of karma. But karma is merely past experience, whether that's good or bad. It's as you sow, so shall you reap. So if you're acting in a way where you're positive and you're being a positive influence in the world and doing good things, then there may be an expectation that good things will come back, but it's also dropping that expectation and just flowing with life and trusting that in the grand cosmic scheme of things, that as you sow, so shall you reap. And in Hinduism and Buddhism, the sum of a person's actions in this and previous states of existence, viewed as deciding their fate in future, is known as karma. And a Buddha is believed to have completely purified his karma. So that's a high level of enlightenment, if you like. So every action has some form of consequence. And the Hermeticists understand that a certain degree to rise above cause and effect, you become causes instead of the effect. This means we can, with awareness, shift how we react to certain situations and come from a perspective that things happen for us, by us, that karma can reside on a higher realm or dimension, as explained in the many planes of causation. And so in our own lives, we can transcend our karma on that level by becoming aware of our own internal triggers or causes to situations that keep reappearing in our lives to be addressed, like the cycles, addressing your karma. So these are things like old wounds or patterns or behaviors, relationship dynamics, those sorts of things. You'll know the things that keep coming up for you that are your life challenge, or perhaps what you might term as your karmic lesson. And it does come to this question, this eternal question: is our life fated, or is it destiny? So to what degree can we exert our free will or alter the effect by addressing the causes and by changing the way we therefore act and live? So can we actually change our destiny, or is it just fated? Do we incarnate into this realm of existence with a certain curriculum of life lessons or challenges, or past karma that we are here to address, transmute, and ultimately heal? And as I don't know if I've mentioned this, but in some wisdom traditions and teachings, This earthly realm is considered a soul cauldron where souls come for some form of purification and rectification, a school of life, if you will, to transcend these life challenges or karmic lessons and come back to wholeness and holiness, to come back to the true self, your eternal self, your infinite self, where there is no duality, where there is no separation. And also in Hinduism, there's this term moksha, which is to be released from the cycle of rebirth, empowered by the law of karma, the transcendent state attained as a result of being released from the cycle of rebirth, which of course is the term called samsara, which in Sanskrit means wandering through or aimless wandering. So samsara is the concept of reincarnation, a cyclic existence, if you will, where a spirit or soul is kind of trapped in this wheel of life of death and rebirth, which, whatever you believe in, is about transcending that cyclic wheel of that karmic cycle, if you like. So, as you can see, the principle of cause and effect, obviously, we just explored the effect of karma in terms of cause, which is, I suppose, is the big picture or grand scheme of life here on planet Earth. But you can also obviously apply that to the little actions that you have day in, day out. And it's often those little things which add up and add up. The little thoughts you have, the little habits you have, the little daily rituals and routines which ultimately create your reality and your life. And every cause of, everything you do has an effect. So if you can have that sort of awareness, then little by little, you can over time change the trajectory of your life, or at least shift your perspective for a better understanding of what sort of cause or what sort of effect are you having, not only on reality, but in your own life, which ultimately you are the creator of your reality. So I hope that was enlightening and that helped you a little bit to understand the sixth Hermetic principle, the principle of cause and effect. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, we are coming to a close of this series. It's been fascinating, it's been enlightening, and it's been great sharing and talking about this topic. And for the final installment of this RealityBites series, we're going to be jumping into the principle of gender. Now, that's going to be an interesting one, particularly in this day and age, where it states gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. So I look forward to checking that one out with you, and I hope you can join me for the next episode of Reality Bites.